Dr. Russell. Here. Mr. Brennan.
President.
Mr. McDowell.
Yes.
Mr.
President. Here. Reverend McDowell, we're not saying a few words. We
Yes.
start this deliberation about bus stops and bike lanes.
But I'm glad each person is here today. We've got a little congregation. Why don't I just take up an offering? for them?
I think that's why they're here.
Yeah, you got the wrong congregation. Well, it could be the wrong or the right congregation. Let the ushers come forward. Look here, thank you for being here today, and thank you for being a part of this city, and thank you for being a part as we continue to grow and advance. Let us bow our heads. Oh Lord, for whole presence in our lives, for the ability to move, for the ability for our city to continue to prosper and grow. We simply say thank you. We know that there are hurdles. We know that there are vicissitudes, but we also know that this is not a hopeless situation. We are filled with hope and admiration of what is to come and what is taking place. Bless us individually and yet collectively. Allow your presence to fall afresh upon us. We ask it and claim it in the Creator's name. Amen.
Amen. Well, at this time, we will move forward with city council discussion. The first item being the fiscal year 2023-2024 accommodations tax committee recommendations. Mr. Hal Stevenson, committee chair, is here. Hi, Hal. You can take us through this. Oh, my apologies. Yes, sir.
Add that,
Yes, sir. Yes. Just one moment for us, Hal. With that adoption, Mayor, we would ask that you all add Project Tango to the executive session item under, what's it under in the last committee? It just came out of committee, economic development.
Yes, it's the discussion of matters relating to the proposed reduction expansion of provincial services.
for project.
Pursuant to section 30-4-75.
Thank you. So that would be our request to add Project Tango to this agenda under executive session.
Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
You got a motion and a second. Can you read that roll, please?
Mr. Brown.
Aye.
Mr. Herbert.
Aye.
Mr. Brennan.
Yes.
Mr. McDowell.
Yes.
Mr. Duval.
Aye.
Mayor Wu.
Aye. Mr. Stevens?
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Well, good to see y'all. I haven't greeted y'all, but appreciate what y'all do. As the chairman of the Accommodations Tax Committee, we have forwarded and had our meeting forwarded our recommendation as far as the financial part, which I'm assuming y'all have in your packets. And you may have received an email I wrote the day that we met that I sent out to the staff because I might not be able to remember it the next day if I didn't do it. So I'm going to go from that as far as this report, and then let y'all ask me questions, if that's okay. We said, I'll just read it. There was a unanimous sentiment from the diverse committee that was the basis for our recommendations, national hospitality economy, and we wanted to make that statement as a committee. I think we recommended full funding on what they're asked for. Miriam Atria and Lake Murray Country do a great job as well with their organization. As we look through her report to us, we noticed that Lexington town and county were probably not paying as much as we wanted. So we wanted to make a statement that the county and the city of Lexington, town of Lexington, would pay more. I understand from Miriam that is in fact the case. She took that advice and went after them, and they have, and I'm sure she could have more to say about that at appropriate. We gave $20,000 to the zoo. This was a little bit of departure from what we've normally done the last few years. We do 85% to Experience Columbia and 15% to Lake Murray Country. without taking anything from anywhere else. But we felt like with the zoo and what they're doing, that it was a no-brainer than asking for $1,000. Finally, you guys, discussed to consider $1 million out of the fund to repay bonds, I believe. I don't know the details of that. That may conversation today. The reason that the ATAX committee has really only considered marketing organizations like Spirits Columbia or Lake Murray Country is because of the Tourism Expenditure Review Committee. The rules around that are written pretty tightly, though we were given, Tina gave us the opinion of city staff and attorneys that you can, in fact, as city council, designate and take some of that money. You know, we're not lawyers, and you know that's business that y'all can take on yourselves. But that's why we've been so focused on just those two organizations, and we recommended against coming out of the fund. We think we live in a fabulous region, and that we have got to have money to communicate that outside the city and in the city, frankly, because we have a tendency sometimes to put ourselves down internally. So we are always promote and advocate for more money for tourism marketing expenditure. So with that, I'll say one thing that I said in my letter personally, as a property owner in Vista, I personally would not have a problem coming up with some sort of help, get property owners together to help perhaps pay some of the trade on getting Finley Park upgraded, because it will benefit us all greatly down there. So that's just an aside, not on the agenda, but I want you to know that personally.
And for the benefit of the public house, since you mentioned that debt service is the purpose of the HTAX fund, the debt service was Finley Park. So just for the public's understanding of that $1 million, that was what it was for.
Yeah, I understand. And I know y'all understand more than everybody in here, and that we're formed. So, you know, we don't have a whole lot of power on the ATAX committee. So when we make recommendations, we have numerous times had that change to council level, and didn't hurt our feelings. We're just,
It may be repeated.
yes, I expect it fully to be done. I know y'all got to deliberate these things in more detail than we do, but we thought it was worth, sending that across just for posterity's sake. For me, Jesse Bullett's here. He's on the committee with me. I'm not seeing anybody else in the committee. I know it'd be more active, which we're talking to Tina and Mitzi a little bit about, trying to be more engaged and more helpful. I'll be glad to answer any questions if there are.
Anyone have any questions, Mr. Stevenson? Just bring that right there. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
With that, we'll move forward with the fiscal year 2023-2024 Hospitality Tax Committee recommendations. Mr. Matthew Bridges, Committee Chair.
Good afternoon. My name is Matthew Bridges. I'm the chairman of the HTAX committee this year. Take questions you have.
Oh, I don't have a last name.
They know who you are.
That's the hip thing, Terry.
Wanted to thank you all very much for continuing to entrust us with listening to our local festivals and other drivers that will bring people into the restaurants who pay their 2% back. And these events are very important to bring people into the city and to retaining, to keeping them here and getting them into our restaurants. With that being said, last year we had an odd year, and thank you very much for allowing us to have 2 interviews coming out of COVID. We thought that was very important. We felt that the applications were down from pre-COVID levels. And there were 7 organizations that were of interviews. So 22-23, we had 62 organizations funded. This year, we were slightly down from that. We do feel that the message was out there. We just have lost some organizations permanently due to COVID and for various other reasons. So we had a total of 57 applicants. And 3 of those are major entertainment districts. I just wanted to touch on that. I'm sure there will be questions about that. The committee felt that it was, while they're very unique in their locations and what they're able to do, that we should fund them equally as possible. You'll see that there's 10,000 extra just because of our committee guideline for one of them not asking for the level that we funded the other 2 for. That being said, with 57 applicants, I'm sure there are some specific questions about specific organizations.
Anyone have any questions?
If you explain the Vine Street allocation, if it was 80,000 last year, you only recommend 60.
Correct. They still have a carryover at the time of our meeting and putting in our recommendations. They still had over 60% carryover from the previous year. So we wanted to.
Matt, yeah. Help me to understand the Columbia International Festival. They, in 2023, it was about 100,000. Requested at 150, and we're back at the 2023 figure. Because of the success of what has taken place in the Columbia line, what was the rationale to keep it at the same?
Hello? Yes, I'm sorry, I'm having to, can't,
Yeah,
57, I'm having a hard time remembering our.
yes. If I'm remembering correctly, of course, we did spend all the money, so we spent the funding around.
You come to the mic.
Just hang out up there.
No, like I said, I'm old, so I'm trying to remember. But we do feel like they're doing a good job. But we ended up spreading the money across to as many applicants as we could. Clearly, if we had increased them significantly, that would have been from 100 to 150,000. We would have had to take from other groups. So they're doing a great job. $100,000 goes a long way with them. And
Did we do similarly with other agencies as we decreased one and increased the other as it related to the 2023 comparatively to 2024? Did we similarly do the same thing?
They're all very unique with very unique expenditures and needs. So I can't say that we used a cookie cutter approach for each one.
All right, that's what I was, okay. Well, I guess the reason I'm asking is that I have been a fervent attender of Columbia International, in addition to a lot of these other things that are listed. And as you know, I think as you know, that becomes one of the largest kinds of events. I don't have the exact figures, Rod, but I'm sure it's probably over 21,000 folk.
Easily 20,000.
Easily 20,000. Okay. I got it. That's got it. Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Thank you, sir.
Matthew,
Yes.
thanks for all your leadership on the HTACs. I know that's 2 or 3 days of your life that were very, very welcoming. Let me ask you something. So you mentioned Divine Street and a carry forward, I should say. Is that carry forward information from other groups provided in our info?
We get that.
We get it when
So
the
you get
committee's
it.
reviewing.
So-
I can't tell you. If Tina would know if they give it to you, but we know they give it
Okay,
to us.
in your, from what you can remember from the 57 applicants, how many others had carry forward balances?
It would be a minority, 20%.
20%?
And I would say Vine Street was the biggest.
Okay, but did you keep that in mind when giving a new number to those other groups that had carry forwards?
Correct. That's a recurring question we have for each applicant.
Did they give a reason? Was there like an overwhelming reason why there was a carryover?
There was no reason given.
Thank you.
Bless you.
I wanted to know a little bit about the South Carolina Research Foundation. It's not intuitive to ask how that's connected to the Kroger Center's art season. Is that simply the organization that the Kroger Center is working with to funnel that money through?
That's where the university moved the Coca Center under. So that's their overarching administrative unit.
Okay.
It's owned by the university.
Yeah, so just out of curiosity, based on what you were talking about earlier, and they had a pretty significant during the assets that the university has.
Already.
The additional programming that they were going to have this year in addition to, and it was our understanding that their funding has been reduced by the university. And
Really?
When they moved from the original structure over to this area, their funding is
Sounds like
based
our
on what
friends-
that area has to give them.
Sounds like our friends at the University of South Carolina Foundation need to give a little money to the
Yeah.
research foundation. Considering that they have plenty to buy a property to take it off the tax roll, maybe we could have that conversation.
How much they charge organizations to use that center, so,
Interesting.
including the city.
All right.
I think the only trend I'm seeing going back to Councilman Dowell's is almost all of the organizations are getting this increase, so I think we should revisit the Columbia International Festival to be consistent and see how we can kind of be a little bit more equitable with that.
Is there any way we can differentiate between the Columbia? I lost my spot. The ballet, both companies. That was a significant increase in one and decrease in the other.
They actually gave them the exact same thing, but we're gonna talk about that afterwards.
All right. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. You all right, Matt? Thank you.
Were there any other questions to understand some background?
National Music Academy, I'm not familiar, can you talk a little bit more about what they were using, those dollars for?
yes,
Multiple concerts?
they're bringing in an international artist. And is it a second band again?
They do it at the Coger Center, although I guess they haven't any seats put in. I think they're still at Coger Center. Okay. But they do a terrific job and they bring in a wonderful group of performers.
Sorry.
We're lucky to get in the Columbia area and they're just on top of every detail. We don't have any concerns with their conduct.
Any other questions? For the committee?
So the restaurant association, why is it that we didn't recommend them getting the full amount, given that those are the folks that generate this funding?
from South Carolina, Columbia.
26, item 26.
Well, we increased them $10,000 from last year. So we didn't give them the 50. Again, we would have had to take that from somebody else, but we did increase them by $10,000.
I would add that we did not meet the vast majority of the requested amounts. We did not fully fund the majority of those requests.
How many folks applied? So you basically funded everybody something.
We had some that were ineligible, whether it be a gala, a race, or a closed ticketed event. And a lot of the reason why we don't fully fund the majority is because the request was for 4.8 million. If we fully funded everyone, we would not have enough money.
Any other questions from council?
Yes.
The ticketed, can you expand on that? How does this something qualify or not qualify if it's a ticketed event?
Given our guidelines that we have created in the past that have dictated what we fund, that's generally not been an item that we would. Those could always change given a certain event. But our guideline for determining these are that a closed ticket event is not going to have the draw that something open to the public would be.
And ticket by ticketed, that doesn't mean we don't give money to anybody who charges entry. It's like, this club is having, like the Songwriters Guild or something. The only people who are gonna come are the guild members and their family members. So that's really a closed event. As opposed to, I charge you $10 to get in for a big festival.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Y'all good? Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Man, I know it's been a difficult job.
It is, that's why I'm happy to have her. Maybe y'all can find.
And we can continue with the line item discussions, Mayor. Okay, the fiscal year 2023-2024 hospitality tax line item agency request. In Missy Coffin's absence, Jeff and I are gonna try to help y'all with this today, okay?
Welcome, Jeff.
And do our best.
You want to take,
Jeff's gonna do his
you want to
best.
take your tie off, Jeff?
Yeah.
I may need to take it off.
I feel like it might be. Do I have one, two? I would also like to say to Hal, to Matthew, to Terry, the past and everything from the committees, thank you.
Yeah.
I know that Tina and staff and Missy have worked with y'all. I know it's a lot, especially for some of these committee meetings to keep coming in. And I know some of y'all have probably been on them in years past as well. It's a huge effort. So I see all this from afar, but I appreciate all that y'all do. It makes it a lot easier for the council. Try to figure it out. We wouldn't have a budget to hire enough people to do all that. So it is a great service. So I thank y'all. So we'll start with accommodations tax. This was presented to y'all. It was in last week's budget. In all the documents that came to y'all on the various different budgets. I wasn't particularly going to go through each and every line item unless y'all would like to, but I would want to point
we
out.
were on hospitality line item B requests is where we would finish up before we did it overall.
The line item agencies.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, well, we skipped to almost last. And I would argue this is y'all's show here, so I'm just here to kind of take records and tell you kind of what we have. Page.
The total request was the 2,880,000 for these. Y'all have available for allocation 2,276,000. But I would add, Mayor, we talked about this before, maybe several of us, and we just kind of go back. We do have within there, we have allocated $1 million to the bonds. So we have talked about splitting that up over 2 years.
So we actually have 2.776, 935 to split. Can you get back to the last slide? Yeah. So the number we actually got is 2,277,000. It's 355 for those line item agencies. And we've seen what the everything that's going. This right there. Is there any questions for Jeff on any of these? I know we're gonna have some discussion, but.
Have we decided the order of the bollard installation, or is that still being talked about since now that we're splitting it for 2 years?
Part of it, what we can do on Main Street, because that's where the majority of our events are, we'll only take a partial of that. And then I think the next ones will get the 5 points to reduce the flood waves to the storefronts, which I think is a priority. Right now, Bailey Street, we have all the mechanical awareness, and we still have to do that.
Well, and points too. So I support
The
that.
way we looked at it, I think when we were adding up cost per ballot, electronic thing that we were working out, we can hit those 2 areas first. One from a most safety standpoint, and one more with the flooding as well to help the merchants.
How was the bollard gonna help the flooding situation?
Because people drive through, and so we can't get down there, so we're creating more waves, which then are rolling into the storefronts. So if we can eliminate people from even getting down there, then we have a way to preserve those restaurants and retailers who continue to get flooded.
Let me ask you a question. Does that mean then that DOT cares for that?
No, that's us.
All right.
That's our enhancement.
Okay.
But, as Will says, they're gonna be digging up the road and stuff, so there may be some cost savings while with what they're doing for us to add those components in.
All right. And of course, these are not permanent bollards.
They go up and down.
They up and down, that's what I'm saying.
Automatically.
Yeah.
Remote control. We'll get one for your car. So
Just long as the chief doesn't have the remote control. Thank you.
Are there any questions for Jeff?
So do y'all have a preference for the line items?
Yes, we do.
Okay. Yeah.
I want to make sure that I had questions before we started going through all these, so.
Is today for information only, or are we doing like this?
I think we can just, I'd like us to go through it so we can vote on it next week, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no, the mayor makes a good point. We're not voting on this today. That's for next week's vote.
And we could actually get it done before July 1, which,
Rare.
now y'all can clap now.
So just for clarity, it's the new number is 27.
Yeah, so-
1,776,000.
If we make some slight adjustments, we can get it right there. Going to go, yeah, so we're going to go through line items, recommendation for council would be, number one, the Museum of Art, $850. Columbia Music Festival Association, $255. Adventure 450. We had at 200. Excuse me, 175. Historic Columbia 750. One Columbia Arts, $100,000 for grant writing, specifically for grant writing. That was council driven decision, and then $100,000 for the Philharmonic.
We go through it one more time?
850 for Columbia Museum of Art, 255 for CMFA, 450 for Adventure, 175 for SC 63, Historic Columbia 750, one Columbia Art writing, and then the Philharmonic at 100.
The Philharmonic was that 100,000?
Yes, ma'am.
You pull your left ear if you approve your right.
Where's the funding for holdback for future public safety?
That's in the hospitality.
Okay.
That's designated for those three areas that we discussed. So y'all good with that?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
So that we line up to
Yep,
work
we're
from.
good. We'll adjust that for next week's vote.
All right, y'all want to go to hospitality tax committee recommendations?
Yes.
Anybody have?
I would be, the two that I'd like to call out is, I'd like to have the council consider, for the Coger Center, us going back to USC and asking them to support that.
So with your recommendation to give them what they had last year and ask
Correct.
USC to fill the gap.
Correct, and
So
then,
that would be, line item 42 goes to 25K. Need the recommendations at this point, then we go back and make sure everybody's on board.
and I'd like to increase the International Festival and meet their need at 150.
All right, well, that's a 50% increase that we gotta come up with somewhere. No, I mean, that,
50K. Yeah.
it's only got 15 now.
Will we decrease the, if.
Look at that first item. What was that first item?
She's on item 42.
Yeah, I'm looking at
She wanted to reduce
42.
that From 40 to 25, so that gives you 15. Okay. Well, ballet, my suggestion on the ballet is to have line item 14 and 15 reflect each other, 150, so we're just moving, we're making them equal.
So instead of
So
180,
you'll pick up $5,000.
so instead of 180 and 125, is
Yeah,
that right?
150 each.
You 150 each.
That gets you another $5,000, so now you're up to 20.
There's also another ballet of item 3.
Yeah, they're only,
Could we,
they're only.
item 17, of course.
So we're,
I would suggest we take out the 12,000 for the Lurie Center based on our moving.
Consolidation.
The other-
That was, yeah.
so can we then say, let's just,
That is,
Number 38.
yeah,
can we do the international festival at 125? That's a 25% increase over last year,
You do 130.
130,
130.
and then that gets, that kind
You're-
of. Negates everything else.
Okay.
yep.
30.
And the only one, so we've taken out the twelve, right? The,
Yes.
Lori.
Yeah,
The
I
only
gotta
other
update
one
it.
that
Get
I
it
would
to you.
put out there, and I'm not super hung up on it, but I do think that if these dollars come from restaurants, then we should be investing in restaurant week.
So why
At
don't we
the
do
number that
this?
they've asked.
Why don't we move that to that, and that would give them 50, well, let's just make it 50, what they asked for, and I'll leave us 4,500 cushion.
So I have another, maybe, this just came up for the committee, so I know that the ATAX were potentially making an additional allocation to the zoo. And then they also requested for their park district, zoo and garden
I
advertising.
always recommend not do the 20,000 on the ATAX.
Okay,
If you not do it, not do
No,
it.
they have to leave it in the hospitality tax.
got it, okay.
Okay, so
What was the item right prior to that one, Dr. Bustles, for the restaurant?
the Lurie Center,
I got.
item
we got
That was
it now,
38.
Lurie Center.
But the restaurant.
Restaurant week, that's 26, make that 50, increase that by 10.
50.
26,
So Lori.
Lori would be around
That's
38. Because of the other effort.
think we're ready to go. We're ready to go. Y'all good?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. We need to recap that, or y'all captured it?
I think those ladies sitting over there have our back pretty good. Y'all good?
You captured it, didn't you, Jim?
Yeah,
Yeah, we'll also.
Jeff, you wrote it all down?
I actually do got it by numbers, so I have to go back through, and Erica
He's got
will
it
probably be going over this
I
video afterwards to make sure.
think that. All right.
Okay.
I think there was the other item that we printed for them, they didn't need that for this purpose.
Oh, I have.
Wasn't it?
Yes, it's 60, right?
Yeah.
It was,
And they have carry over your business.
yeah.
We've already got, we've already taken
We just don't give it to them, they don't look at it.
Took it on
Mayor
there.
already has it.
The top.
He was already.
We shaved it earlier.
ATAX.
All right, so we're at ATAX. So what we got here, so the 2.7, I know that there's more money there. I would like us to keep about $1 million back. And hold it for the next, over the next course of the year, so that if tourist related items, promotion items come up, that those, they can come back to us. I don't wanna. I mean, cause some of this is carried forward, we have to use it in a period of time. So I would recommend that we give 400 to Lake Murray. And then we give 2.3 to the CBB and leave the balance in the account for us to look at a later date.
And say that again, please.
Yeah.
2.3 to the CBB. 400 to Lake Murray Country. That's 2.7 out of that, and leave the balance of funding in the account for a later date.
I don't think
that
a
we can
million.
use for some of these marketing projects and other things, and there's gonna probably be some events that are gonna pop up, and we need somewhere to go for that.
Mr. Mayor, we need to point out that this also includes in the special projects, 230,000 for restroom facilities and
You got that right there.
873,000 for.
Where's that at, Jeff?
Right there.
230 right here. And it's also on, it's on the printout. Also want to point out,
I'm sorry.
generically, we had said $1 million for the debt service. It actually turns out we've issued bonds. It's just 873,000.
I'd be fine with it. I would just wanna, I hear the committee's, wish to learn a little bit more about Lexington, so I would just wanna know what the final, investment from Lexington is for Lake Murray, given that they do benefit a lot from it.
Don't worry, that's.
No, all the things, but yeah, I do agree that they need to also
That's a
invest.
conversation that everybody like.
Yeah.
When do you think the public facilities project will be up? Up and open?
Henry can.
The restaurant.
Yeah.
That was a very nice way to say that.
Well, I was just going off what it says on the nice.
Confirm that's where you were.
Yeah.
The bathroom.
I think, Henry has looked at several spots, and I think he's prepared to bring us a recommendation. And I think it'd be something to happen pretty quick.
Perfect, thank you.
Jeff, that's right at $200,000, right?
2:30.
230.
230, all right. Sounds good.
Not today.
Sounds good.
Y'all good? You got, feel like you got good direction?
We do. We're good. If y'all are good, we'll,
Yes, sir.
everything will work like next week in the second reading of the budget.
So basically, folks, we're approving this next week.
May I just want, may I just-
Good ways to fly.
Yeah, we.
Yeah, we can just see a complimentary. I want to thank staff, Jeff, you and Missy and the city manager and the mayor and all that are involved in putting all this together. And Tina,
Stephanie.
see, I didn't see Tina.
Stephanie,
Well, just say everybody,
All
everybody.
right, can't call
Look,
names.
Thank you all so much. This has been an arduous task, not only for this council, because we've met seemingly for the last 6 months every Tuesday. And it's been very enlightening. So thank you all so much for what you've done to make this, for lack of a better word, an easy read for us. Thank you all so much. And of course, after saying that, all of you who gave a hand clap. Say thank you.
thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you, great job.
Thanks, Steve Moore.
Thank you.